I wish I could be more hopeful about the future in China. And in a way I am, because you look at certain things, the spread of Christianity, for example. I think this is one of the great underreported, underappreciated phenomena that's going on in China. You know, the Chinese leaders thought, well, if we just help people get rich, they'll be happy. You know, if we just do our job and grow the economy and we're successful as stewards of the economy and we create a middle class, we create an upper class, people will be happy. Well, it turns out people got rich and they felt empty and they felt something missing. And everybody in this room knows what was missing. There was no spiritual side, there was no faith. And so I think there's a great opportunity for people of faith to spread the gospel, spread the word, and have a very receptive audience in China. And I think that shows up in figures. It's hard to tell exactly what the numbers are, but there are certainly people saying now that there are more Christians in China than all of North America. I think we discussed that at dinner tonight. So that might lead one to be optimistic. Makes me optimistic on the one hand, but certainly the Chinese see that as a potential threat to their authority. And in a way, they're right. If there's a higher authority than the CCP, they're concerned. And certainly people of faith would conduct themselves in that manner and would see that the CCP is not sort of godlike stature and that there were higher authorities. But they're making choices right now that I think will ultimately be problematic for them. They're choosing to have a heavier hand and to crack down, and I think ultimately that'll be counterproductive for them. But in the short term, obviously that'll cause a lot of distress and a lot of suffering, and the case that Jeff mentioned certainly is one of the more tragic examples of that. If the Chinese were, I think, a little more clever, they would see that you can be a great, powerful country and a country filled with people of faith, which is what we have here. And again, when George Bush and people like that talk to his Chinese counterpart and others in China, and he talked about his own faith, but also his hope that there'd be greater religious freedoms in China, he came at that issue from a position where he was truly hoping that China would be a greater country and that its people would become greater. It wasn't about we want to contain China or we want to make things difficult for the government in China. We want China to be a great country, and we think you can only be a great country if you really unleash people to practice their religious faith freely and to let God do his work.